Chris here and welcome back to another video. So today I'm back here to do something a little bit different, but it's still kind of build related. And today I'm going to go ahead and give you my kind of just like building tips and tricks, and also kind of tips on how to build faster. So this build idea, well, not build idea, you know what, I'm so used to doing builds, there we go. This video idea has been so highly requested for such a long time. I have no idea why it's taken me so long to get around to it, but today I thought, you know what, let's just get around to it and get out of the way, because so many people have been asking me about this. So basically what I'm going to do is not just tell you things that you can do to make your builds better, but also ways that you can improve how fast you do builds and be able to build faster. Because if you don't know, I do mansion builds here on my channel every single Sunday, and those are normally 64 by 64 lots, and they can take me about 2 hours. And people always ask me, how on earth do I do it in that such a short amount of time? Well, basically what I'm going to do today is kind of show you some of the tricks that I think will be useful for you to know to help you improve your building time. Some of them may seem a little bit simple, but they are kind of really important. So the first one is shortcuts. Now, it seems really simple, but these are here in the game to make your life easier, so make use of them. Just have a go looking around, like these things, for example, knowing what, you know, what shortcut is which. So for example, the eyedropper tool, if you hover over it, it tells you what the shortcut is, which is E. This one will be R. This one is K. And you can just know those. So when you're going through and, you know, just doing things, it just saves so much time at having to like find the button and stuff. So for example, when you want to place a wall down, instead of clicking on here and then choosing, you know, wait for it to load, choose which one you want, it's like, it just takes so much extra time. So what I do is, if I'm just like in another menu, all you have to do is press B, and then there you go, you've got your wall tool and you can place walls down. So another kind of useful shortcut, which I didn't mention there, is, so say if you make a room, so I'll just make a really simple one, and you know what, let's just do it on the outside. So I'm all over the place today. So say if you have like a floor tile like this, if you press Control F, you get diagonal. So it can be really useful. I like to do this actually when under like fireplaces and stuff. So I'm just going to make a really quick little thing here. So let's see if I do like that. And then if I have like a wall there, this is just a really quick example. I'll just get a fireplace out quickly and show you what I mean. So say like this. I mean, that's maybe a little bit too small for a fireplace, but you can see what I mean. Is that, say if you have like, you know, like carpet or wooden floors or something, having like carpet and then having like, you know, say like a fireplace on top of that, it doesn't really look that good. So I'm making a right mess of this, oh my god. Okay, so there, say if you have like carpet and then having that on top of the carpet, it doesn't really look right. So just doing that and making use of the Control F to make diagonal tiles is just something really, really useful to kind of just make things look a little bit more realistic, I suppose. And yes, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete this and move on to the next thing, which is the duplication tool. So this is really, really useful when you're doing landscaping. So see if I get these low-lying yellow flower plants, which is this thing right here, and you see me use this all the time in landscaping. I always use this as a base for landscaping, and then I go ahead and put flowers on top of it. Now, if you want to see a more in-depth landscaping tutorial and how I do landscaping in-game, let me know and I'll make a full, separate, in-depth video about that. So basically what you can do is you can put one down, go in and get another one, or making use of the eyedropper tool here, which is E, grab it again, and then before you place it down, hold down the Shift key, and then it'll just duplicate it like that. Another thing you can do is hold down Alt at the same time. So right now I'm holding down Alt, which just allows you to move off the grid. And then if I hold down Alt and Shift, I can just move it all the time. I haven't got move objects on, but I'm going to explain about that in a second. And you can just move it around, because having like landscaping, which is all very perfect, I mean, sometimes it will be, you know, good to have it like that, but oftentimes it's more realistic, you know, instead of having that, having them all jumbled together. But for that, you need move objects. The thing about move objects is moving on to the next thing, which is the shortcuts mod. Now this isn't like shortcuts like what I was just mentioning at the start. It's actually another mod for things that you type in, you know, when you press Control Shift C to open this menu and you type in other cheats. Well, there's a mod called the shortcuts mod. It's on Mod The Sims. I'll leave a link down below to it so you can go ahead and download it. It was actually my friend Spring Sims who actually told me about this, and basically it's just like, you know, those long cheats like the move objects one, or that very long, you know, ignore gameplay entitlement, whatever that unlock cheat is. So if you want to go ahead and put move objects on, instead of typing in bb.moveobjects_on, all you have to do is press M and then enter, and there you go, move objects is on. And that's really, really simple and just saves so much time. I do this at the start of my builds, and I just have all of those on to start with, and I don't have to worry about them for the rest of the build. For the unlock street, like I was just mentioning, press U, And there you go, that stupidly long thing, which that sheet is, which is ridiculous, is now unlocked with just one letter. So that's another thing I can do, and it just saves so much time. So the next thing I want to talk about isn't really something I can show you on screen, but it's just planning ahead. And by what I mean about that is that it's a really useful thing to do if you want to build faster. So when I'm building, I'm like, so say I'm going to be building a home or something. So I'm building like the wall here, and I'm always thinking about, okay, how many wall tiles is this to fit a door in? And you know, say if I make a 3-tile one, okay, I know that I like, make it a medium wall height. I know that I like, if I go into this one, I know, hang on, let me just lag a little bit here. I know that this one I love to use, and it's 3 tiles wide, and I know I like to use this a lot, this window, so I always plan in having a 3-tile wall length, so I can get in those windows. So that's kind of just something that I plan ahead with, is that, okay, I'm placing down walls here, but how long how wide are they, if that makes sense. I know if I've got a 4, I can maybe put a 2-wide window in, so which is this one that I like to use, like that, or even this one here as well, which I know are 2 tiles wide. So that's just another thing for planning ahead. And also when you go into the furnishing as well, the furnishing doesn't really take me that long, because I'm always thinking about what I'm going to do next. So say if I'm in the kitchen, I'm placing down counters, and like, okay, next I'm going to do the stove, next I'm going to put the fridge, and I'm always kind of just thinking ahead what I'm going to do next, and that just saves so much time instead of having to stop. Now, I mean, if you're in a time rush, then sure, do that, that's fine. That's what I do, because I don't have that much time. But if you're just building for fun, then you don't really need to worry about that, because if you've got more time to spare, then you can just not have to rush it. I don't normally rush it, it's just over practice. It's just like normal for me now. So the next thing I want to talk about is, well, the next 3 things is all about landscaping. So we kind of talked about landscaping before very briefly with that duplication tool. Well, this is all about landscaping next. So like I mentioned earlier, if you want to see more in depth about this, then feel free to let me know in the comment section, and I'll try my best to do a separate video. So the one thing I want to talk about is mapping out your landscaping with terrain paints. So say if I'm going to make a house, I'm just going to do a very brief kind of like shape at the front of a house here, like so, and I know I'm going to have like the door here, for example, so I'm just going to put down like this little thing where decking would be, for example. I'll just put on a foundation so you can kind of see that. So pretend the door's there, and then I know I want like a pathway, but the thing I do is for landscaping is that I normally do the landscaping once I've kind of finished with the main structure of the home, but what I like to do is to get the dirt terrain paint and kind of just map around where I want the plants to go. So I do that with the dirt terrain paint, and I normally have it like on either side of the lot here, like that. A little bit of a mess there, but just for a quick example. And then I normally use, this for the pathway. That's not straight at all, but it's just a quick example. And then I go back into this and fill in the gaps. So say I did that, okay, I might have been a little bit more, looking nicer. This is just a very quick example. And then I've done all the rest of the stuff with the structure, and now I'm onto the landscaping. So instead of then having to go ahead and think, okay, what I'm going to do with the landscaping, I've already put down these things here, so I know I'm just going to go ahead and do the landscaping on these areas. So this is, like I mentioned earlier, the thing I place down all the time to start off my landscaping with. So I'll go ahead and place that down like so all around here. I'm doing this very quickly, that's why it's a mess. Okay, and then I've got that done. So I know that's kind of the basic shape of where I'm going to have the landscaping. And then the next thing which kind of ties into this is choosing colours for landscaping that match. So when I first started building, I would just place any colour flowers down that I felt like putting down. I'll just place random ones. Okay, I'll put that there, I'll put that there. But I've kind of started to rethink about the colour themes I'm using with plants. So what I've been using recently is kind of just a lot of neutral colours. So for example, I'll use these this bulbous brush. That's a really weird word to say. And kind of just place those down, and then I'll choose maybe very like a white colour. So I like to use these, even though they're called blue hydrangeas, like the white blue hydrangea, and I place that down. And then I might choose maybe one or two other colours. So what I normally go for is pink. So maybe like this one here. It's maybe a little bit too bright actually. Okay, this one. And then I go ahead and place those down. And you can see there that it's not such a huge big mess of colours. So what I would normally do is, if I was starting, years ago when I started building, I'll place all these different colours down. A load of these colours. I'll put orange down. Just all different types of colours that don't match, and you can see it just looks a mess. But when this one, it looks a little bit more neater, and this is very basic. I haven't put as many plants down as I normally do, but you can see there that this just looks so much more neater, I guess you could say. It's just a lot less cluttered, and it just flows a bit nicer. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're doing landscaping, is what are you placing down in terms of colour swatches, and that can be really helpful. So the next thing, which is not really landscaping related, I would say, but it kind of is because it's to do with plants, is say you have a window. Let me just place one down. I need to think of one here. I'm just going to go with the cats and dogs one. Let's just make this a bit smaller here. So what am I looking for? This big cats and dogs one like this. So what I would do is, I like to do planter boxes for a lot of the things. If you don't know where to find that, you basically just go into this little thing under the window where it says wall sculptures, and then you can have all your different kind of outdoor decorations here, I suppose. So normally place these ones down like this under the window to give a nice bit of decoration. But one thing I've been doing recently, and I forgot who it was who I first did this, who I saw do this. I want to say seamlessly, but it's kind of doing that and then getting the other type of planter box in game like this one and kind of just overlapping them. It just looks nicer to look at. It just kind of gives you a little bit more of an extra bit of detail, and it kind of just, has this boring green stuff and then some nice flowers on top, and it kind of just adds a little bit more detail into it. And if you're wondering how I'm doing this, like just free moving it, like I mentioned at the start, I'm just pressing down the Alt key and moving it to where I want to. So the next thing I want to talk about is more of how to make your builds look better. So those are kind of some general tips on making, landscape, and I'm going to kind of move indoors in a way, but we're going to start with the outside of a room first. And this next thing I want to talk about is kind of like wall tool points, which is this custom rune tool. So basically what a lot of people do when they start building is that they do a big square like this, and then looking at that, it just doesn't look that great, and then some people might, for example, and this is also okay to do, maybe then get another room tool to have a little pop out like that, which is fine, but then you've got to go in and then take out this wall and stuff. But basically what I like to use is all the time, and I know some people notice this, how I do this, is I use the custom room tool. So basically what I like to do is I actually kind of plan out, so I kind of know that doing this, where the windows are going to be, but also doing this allows you to not have things boxy shaped. So I'm kind of just going around placing all of these different styled, well, not styled, shaped, I guess, walls, and it kind of just makes it look a little bit more interesting to look at, and it's not so square shaped. And like I said, you can place a box down and then go ahead and put another box on top of that, for example, to make pop outs, but this just saves so much time and all my pop outs are already done. So I really recommend using the custom room tool for having builds look a little bit more better and not so boxy shaped, and have a little bit more of an interesting style to them, because having pop outs is a really good thing to do on your builds to make them look more interesting, and with the custom room tool that just makes it so much easier. So now that you've got your pop outs on your build, another thing that I really recommend doing when you're going to choose the wall patterns is that you use a few different types. So normally I go with at least 2 different wall coverings on the outside, sometimes 3 if I feel like it. So what I normally like to do is, for a traditional family home style home, is I'll go for a stone or brick and also a siding. So for example, I like to use this vampire wall brick colour, so say for example this, and I'll go ahead and place this down on the pop outs, which is normally where I do it. So for example on here as well, I'll do it because it's a pop out, so I like to use the stone as an accent colour. So maybe I'll do another pop out on the side, so I just press B for the wall tool, I'm holding down control, and you see if you look at the little green little icon there above the wall tool, the little green little square, if I hold down control you can see that the X is in the top right corner. That just shows you that when you hold down, it removes a wall instead of placing one. So I'll do that, and I'll just place it in like that, and maybe put another wall covering like that, and that just kind of gives some more dimension, and also having various different wall coverings makes it look more interesting. So then, like I said, I use some sidings, so I'll normally go for, let's see, I kind of like this one right here. Actually, you know what, this has a lot more colour swatches, so let's go for something that kind of matches this colour. So maybe like, I'm just going to change it afternoon, and there we go. So, and then I'll do this for the other ones, like so. Oh, I don't know what happened there. And like that. Okay, I'm not going to do all of the wall, but you can kind of see what I mean, is that just having 2 separate colours instead of it all being like that, it looks more interesting, having little pop outs of brick and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be brick and siding, it just depends on what type of build you're doing. But for me personally, when I'm doing family home styles or traditional builds or suburban homes, this is the kind of 2 little colour swatches I like to use. So that also applies to the inside. So say if I'm just going to take this wall out, so let me just put some lights down quickly so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So for the inside, I love to use kind of paint. So let's just go ahead and find some paints, normally like a neutral colour that I like to use. So say for example, maybe something a little bit lighter actually, let's go for this one, and then that looks great and everything. I sometimes do this, but to make it look a little bit more interesting is that I like to use the same colour swatch of brick that I used on the outside and bring that inside. So I'm just going to use the which is the eyedropper tool, and bring that inside. And then on the pop outs of the inside walls, I like to use bricks. So maybe it can be a little bit overkill. It really just depends really what type of room it is. So maybe I like to do like this. Say for example, this is going to be the kitchen. I love to use brick as the backsplash. So when I go ahead and place the counters down, it kind of just looks a little bit more nicer and kind of stands out a little bit, especially if you're going to go ahead and put the stove in the middle there. Because, you know, having like a stove on with wall like paint behind it, I mean, it's fine, but you know, you normally see like a backsplash, and this brick can kind of act like that. So that's what I like to do sometimes. And then maybe I'll place one down here. But one thing I do not like to do is I haven't brick too much. So you can see if I had it like there as well, that is just too much. So before the next pop out starts, I like to end the brick, if that makes sense. So it's not too much, and it's just supposed to be an accent, not like the full wall covering, if that makes sense. And that kind of wraps up what I wanted to talk about in today's build. So I really hope you found these kind of tips and tricks useful, and also the other things that I talked about at the start for enable you to build faster as well. And also some tips and tricks to improve your builds. I really hope you found this video helpful. Now, if you want to see some more building tips and tricks videos for something in particular, like landscaping, and maybe also roofing as well, because I didn't go over that, then let me know in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to do another video where we kind of go over that in more detail, and I'll get back to you soon with that type of video. So I really hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't. Also, let me know in the comment section down below if you have any more questions about what I went over today, because, I mean, I'm not the best at explaining things. And feel free to leave that down below in the comment section, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!